Hello, good morning, students. Today, in the last section of the last topic of the syllabus, English Literature paper second, B part third, I am Dr. S.R. Bhargava introducing you editing. As I have already told you about the editing of the text. So, in the connection of the previous session, I am going to tell you about the editing, what is editing and how it requires in the text. It follows not only editing of the text, but we have grammatically, logically, cohesion and coherence in this regard. Editing is the first task that should be undertaken after finishing the first draft of a piece of text. So it should be very clear that editing is the first task that should be undertaken after finishing the first piece of text. So editing becomes very first task that should be undertaken the finishing of the piece of the text. So I would like to make it clear that in the previous session we have described editing, what is editing and what are its components. I am Dr. S.R. Bhargava, Department of English, Associate Professor, Government College, Khetri. I am going to deliver my lecture on editing. That editing is the first task that should be undertaken after finishing the first draft of a piece of text. It involves checking the content of the text to ensure that the ideas are expressed clearly and logically and form a coherent and meaningful whole. So, in the editing of text, we should be assured that the ideas are expressed very clearly, logically, and form a coherent and meaningful whole. There should not be loose structure in the context. So, editing is what you begin doing as soon as you finish your first draft. You rewrite your draft to see, for example, whether the paper is well organized. Your draft, the transitions between paragraphs are smooth, and your evidence really backs up your argument. You can do these levels. Editing requires focusing on the content of the text. The key goals are to check that the text flows logically. So logically, there should be well knit connection. There should be content that should be flowed logically. Editing is coherent and consistent. Coherent means there should be a well established, logically consistent structure. Editing forms a meaningful whole. The meaning should be complete in the organic form. Editing is clearly expressed. Editing is accurate. Text is accurate in the information it provides. The text has an appropriate tone. Text should be concise, brief. It should have brevity. Text makes its purpose clear. The purpose should be apparent, very clear. Text is targeted towards the reader. So the purpose should be reader oriented. So logically, coherence, consistency, meaningful whole, clearly expressed, accuracy, appropriate tone, concise, brevity, and apparent purpose should be targeted to the reader only. There are some keys to ask. There are some key questions to ask yourself when editing a piece of text. So some questions come in our mind, what should be done if we are going to edit a text. So some questions arise. Does the opening paragraph provide a clear indication of the purpose of the text and a broad outline of the content? The first question comes in our mind, that does the opening paragraph provide a clear indication of the purpose of the text and a broad outline of the content. So we should have the opening paragraph with a clear indication what is the purpose of the text and what are the outlines of its content. Does every part of the text contribute to the key idea in order to form a meaningful whole? Does every part of the text contribute to the key idea? It means that every part of the content text should be key idea related to for a meaningful whole. Meaningless things should be avoided as far as possible. Does the purpose remain clear throughout the text? So there should be a consistency in the purpose that should be along with the full throughout the text. Is every sentence relevant to the purpose of the text with no digression? Relevance of the purpose with the text should be there. Nothing irrelevant should be there. No digressions are allowed. Is there a sentence, preferably the first, in each paragraph that summarizes the key points of that paragraph? The opening or the first sentence in each paragraph should summarize the key point of the paragraph very clearly. Are the paragraphs unified? Do they contain only one single idea each? Are the paragraphs unified? Are the paragraphs are connected? Have unity of wholeness? Has every idea been given sufficient weighting? Every idea should be relevant to the text. There should be sufficient weighting. Does the text flow logically from one paragraph to the next? The logical connection should be there so far as the paragraph of the text is concerned. Have transitional words or phrases such as, for example, however, thus, therefore, as a result, in this way, furthermore, above all, and moreover, been used. These expressions, these logically transitional words make the consistency in a text, but not overused to help the reader to make connections between the ideas. Are the sentence structure and vocabulary varied without much repetition? Though variations are randomly allowed, but sentence structure, vocabulary, there should be not much repetition because repetition is dangerous. Has the text been worded concisely? There should be brevity, there should be briefness or conciseness in the text. Have irrelevant and unnecessary filler words such as factually or actually or basically been avoided. Irrelevant and unnecessary things should be avoided. Filler words. Some people use actually and basically, they are to be avoided, not to be used. Is the text free from colloquialism, slang or jargon? Colloquialism. Colloquialism words should be avoided. Colloquialism means conversational style should be avoided because in conversational style the consistency grammatically, logically and coherent are violated. Slang, jargon and cliches, they should be avoided because they are outdated, They don't follow the norms of the grammar, logic, and coherence. So glitches are outdated. Only unique forms of phrases should be there. So the reader should be very aware that the use of colloquialism or the words related to slang or jargon words, they should be avoided definitely. Has evidence been given to back up statements? If there are proofs, evidence, they should be followed, given to the backup to the statements. Has consistent terminology been used throughout, or if more than one has been used to refer to something? Consistent terminology. The terminology which are related to consistency of the words, phrases, sentences, they should be used throughout. Or if more than one term has been used to refer to something. If there are some terms that used to refer to something, it's clear that they are one and the same thing. So words, references for referring things should be used if they are relevant. Consistencies in the text makes it clear that the text is a positive and professional tone maintained throughout. We have consistency in a positive and professional tone that should be maintained throughout. Is the tone appropriate for the reader? The reader should be well aware of the tone that used for him because it is the tone that affects the tone of the reader. Does the text meet the reader's needs? If we have the relevance or consistency or logically coherent or cohesion in the text, they are very useful because they are beneficial to the needs of the readers. Does the last paragraph neatly and concisely summarize and conclude? And now we come to the last concluding sentence that is very, very important. As we see that the first opening sentence is very, very important because it has the purpose of the whole paragraph, whole text. So in the end, the last paragraph should have brevity that should be clearly, concisely summarized with the conclusion. If the answers to all these questions is yes, the text is likely to be well written. If we think that before editing of the text, we have the right answer in our mind that everything is in affirmative sense, the text is likely to be well written piece. Then the final draft, final proof of the text comes, and that will not require too many changes. Only the last final touch text is to be published. Don't be alarmed, however, if it seems that a lot of changes are needed. Sometimes we are scared, afraid that there may be any changes. So, if seems there should be some changes to be done, but not so much. Editing a piece of text to ensure that it forms a coherent and meaningful whole. So, it again ensures us that the editing a piece of text to that forms a coherent and meaningful whole can sometimes involve major changes or even rewriting. However, there may be occurring many changes, but it should not be a matter of panic because meaningful whole coherent form are very relevant necessary for editing of a text. After the adjustments from the editing process have been made, the text is ready for proofreading. If we have so many adjustments from the editing process, we come to the conclusion that our text is ready because it needs proofreading, and then editing of the text process becomes very complete, relevant, remarkable. Thanks students for your nice cooperation and have a nice day. Thanks again.